How do we know? How do we know? So is it mute the whole time?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, yeah. We need to, next time I think we need to just be like watching when we go live.
I was watching.
And what happened? You just didn't hear the audio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no audio still on that one.
Are any of them having audio?
Mm-mm.
You just didn't hear the audio?
Okay, now they can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so everything is fine now. Okay, so I'm back to reading my article. Am I good? Okay, we're back. So, accepted an invitation from congressional leaders to address a joint session, a decision that sparked tension within the Democratic Party over Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. In a post to X, formerly known as Twitter, Netanyahu wrote that he was looking forward to the opportunity to present the truth to Congress about the just war that Israel has been waging in Gaza since the October 7th Hamas attack, when 1,200 Israelis were killed and 240 others were taken hostage. In the months following Israel's invasion of the Gaza Strip, at least 35,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to Palestinian health authorities, while millions of others have fled from their homes. Again, this number is absurd to me. This 35,000 number, there's no way that that's accurate. There's no way that that's accurate. Also, no, the people that were keeping track and keeping, that the health ministry and the infrastructure and all the records people, everyone's dead. So they don't know. There is no way that we are still stuck under 40,000 dead people for the past 3 months. And that's what I feel like I've been like every time I look at the news, I feel like I'm looking at the same toll. Like, are you kidding me? How is that possible? It's not possible. It's just not possible. So I reject that number, but I digress. So this is quoting Netanyahu. I am very moved to have the privilege of representing Israel before both houses of Congress and to present the truth about our just war against those who seek to destroy us to the representatives of the American people and the entire world. Progressives, including Senator Bernie Sanders, who has been outspoken in his disapproval of U.S. military support for Israel's war, denounced the invitation. Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. He should not be invited to address a joint meeting of Congress. I certainly will not attend. That was from Bernie Sanders. Sanders also referenced the International Criminal Court seeking arrest warrants for both Netanyahu and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar for alleged war crimes committed on both sides. The ICC is seeking warrants for the arrest of Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas. Sanders wrote, the ICC is right. Both of these people are engaged in clear and outrageous violations of international law. You're right, Bernie, they are. And you know who else is engaged in these outrageous violations of international law, as well as violations of domestic law? Joe Biden. Yeah. So it's really interesting. So I do agree that we shouldn't let war criminals come and address our Congress and give them any amount of legitimacy. I think that's off the wall. I mean, we know that we've done it in the past, and I've always thought it's absurd in the past. But at the end of the day, in some ways, it's at least consistent for us, right? I mean, we are essentially committing the same war crimes by being complicit and by aiding and abetting and all of this. And we're committing those same war crimes. So it would, in fact, be hypocritical then if we were to say, yeah, no, Netanyahu, we can't have that, when, in fact, we've been funding everything he's asked. So the fact he's invited here is despicable, but yet it completely lines up with the policy line that we've had for so many years. Like, it makes complete sense to me. While I do appreciate people speaking out against that, though, I really do. I am appreciative that there are certain Congress people that are not on board with this and that people are speaking out against it. But at the end of the day, turning your back on somebody who is already invited here and speaking and who's already taken all of our money and resources and has already used it to perform a genocide, turning your back on him when he comes to tell you about it is sort of an after the fact thing, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what you demonstrate symbolically as much as it matters what you actually do. And you're participating in government and in policy and in legislation that is promoting a genocide. So I appreciate, but anybody who has thus far agreed with or signed and voted yes on any of the funding, weapons, any resources going into the state of Israel post October 7th, anybody who has voted yes for any of that, you're complicit in a genocide. And so at this point to then say, oh, well, it's disgusting to invite over the person committing the genocide. Well, yes, it is. It's completely disgusting. But it's disgusting that we're even sort of in bed with that person anyway, and that we've been promoting it and funding it. So I don't know like why we need to draw the line on like the discussing it after the fact. That's sort of like you'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. So anyway, that's my thought on that. So I don't know if you guys have any comments. And now at this point, I'm questioning whether or not I'm even going to get comments because I'm not entirely sure that I have not yet done this from the Restream. This is the first time we're trying it from the Restream and not just me on my phone. But I remember that the past couple of times that I've been doing these lives, I feel like I'm going to start going where I'll start out with like one kind of the bad side story and then like the good news story. Not like it's good news, but at least something remotely positive, right? Like, let's be real, there's no good news. But this I found really interesting. And I remember I had done a piece before about the idea that Norway and Spain and Ireland had all decided to recognize the state of Palestine. And I was really, that's every country that comes on board will just facilitate the process of the end to the Zionist state. Like, because eventually it will be a sole pariah state and it won't be able to function that way. So every country that comes on board and takes a stand against the US empire, it's like, I just feel like needs to be recognized because that's essentially what this is. When you take a stand on this as any country, and especially some smaller countries, you're standing up to US empire. And that's a pretty ballsy thing to do for a lot of the smaller countries. So this story is from the AP, and it's the Maldives will ban Israelis from entering the country over the war in Gaza. So, I appreciate that. Let Israelis not have the freedom of movement. Let them be banned from going to different countries while their country is doing this. Let them decide that this is not that they don't want to be a rogue nation and they don't want to be ruled by rogue people. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be difficult before it gets any better. So this is out of, it says Colombo, Sri Lanka. The Maldives government will ban Israelis from the Indian Ocean archipelago, known for luxury resorts, as public anger in the predominantly Muslim nation rises over the war in Gaza. The president's office said Sunday that the cabinet decided to change laws to prevent Israeli passport holders from entering the country and to establish a subcommittee to oversee the process. It said President Mohammed Muzu will appoint a special envoy to assess the Palestinian needs and to launch a fundraising campaign. Israel's foreign ministry spokesperson, Oren Marmerstein, said in response that the foreign ministry recommends Israelis avoid any travel to the Maldives, including those with foreign passports and those currently there considering leave. Nearly 11,000 Israelis visited the Maldives last year, which was a 0.6% of the total tourist arrivals. So it's clearly not huge, but Israel is also not a large country. But in any event, I don't know, if I lived over there in the middle of the hot desert, I would be sad if I lost the rights to go visit this amazingly beautiful place in the middle of a beautiful sea. I don't know. It would bother me to be blackballed based on my nationality because my government is a pariah state. That would bother me. And something that we really take for granted as Americans, I know I have often taken this for granted in the past, and it's been made very clear to me over the past like 30 years, how free we are to travel wherever we want as Americans and what hoops and different like obstacles that people have to deal with and go through to go from different countries to different countries. And Americans are one of those, it's sort of like the international passport, like pretty much anywhere you want to go as an American, there's really very few places that you can't go. I'm sure somebody out there probably has a list, but I know that it's pretty, it's like gold. An American passport is gold. And it will be when our passport is no longer accepted because we are a rogue nation and we are beholden to a nation of war criminals. And so we will stop being allowed to go places too. And that's where inevitably that's what's going to happen. Because if you're not going to, I mean, eventually the rest of the world is just not going to take it anymore. They're just not going to take it anymore. So what's going to happen is people are going to just start building up, piling up. It's not just going to be the Maldives. It's not just going to be Norway or Spain. Like, it's going to start being more and more countries that are going to divest from Israel. They're going to boycott Israel. And they're even go as far as banning their citizens from traveling to their nations. And that's going to start getting harder and harder. And I want to shout out kudos to all of those countries that are taking a stand. Obviously, we know it started with really, I mean, South Africa leading the way in terms of taking a stand against the state of Israel geopolitically. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. And for some reason, I don't know how to even get chats is the problem. I have private chat. And then if I go down here, I can sort of get chat. Let's see. Because I think I'm not seeing anything. Like, is anybody? See, that's the problem. Let's see if I can even type something in there. Yeah, see, it goes through. So right now, we are looking at least one more country coming on board, being with us on the right side of history. And that's a really, it's going to be a slow process. And it's really unfortunate. That's the problem. I do feel like the arc of history does bend toward justice. I do believe that. And that eventually there will be essentially the shift will shift over. But at the end of the day, it takes a while for that to happen. It's not overnight. We're seeing it sort of I feel like, I hope we're seeing the death throes of empire to some extent, that the whole world is waking up to what is going on. But you never know what can quash that. So I'll go ahead, since I guess I'm just not able, maybe I just can't see chats. Is that possible that I can't see chats? Because if I can't see chats, I'm going to go on my phone and see if I'm missing something, guys. Because if I can't see chats, then this is not a good way to do this. Then I'm just going to have to start doing it on my phone. And that's what's going to have to happen. Because we can't have that, right? I don't want to have that. I want to be able to answer chats before I go on to another story, and I'm not. See if I can figure out how to do this. I don't even know how to do this, to be honest with you. It's not good. Here. Maybe this happens. Watch live video. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go on to another story. I don't know if anybody is able to. Okay. So at least. Yeah, no, now I can see some questions. I can see them on my phone. For some reason, they're not showing up here on the Restream, because we're trying it differently. Instead of me going through Instagram, we're on Restream so that we can do more mediums. So I'm only watching on Instagram. So what we should probably do is, whoever's watching, text me questions. Okay. So Rosa's watching. All right. So yeah, text me questions, guys, if you see any in the chats. I'm going to go on to the next story. This is really interesting. So apparently, so we got to take this with a grain of salt. This is Yahoo News. So I'm not exactly, we're not reading Pulitzer work here, but what's in Biden's 3-phase plan to end the war in Gaza? Well, first of all, that's presuming there is a 3-phase plan. So I find that interesting right there. Apparently Biden has a plan. Now, why it's taken 8 months to get to the plan, we don't know that, but apparently there's a 3-phase plan. A 6-week ceasefire, full Israeli withdrawal, and plans to reconstruct Gaza are all part of the plan. So right off the bat, first 1, 2, 3, 4 words negates this entire thing. A 6-week ceasefire. Yeah, that's not a plan. That's not a plan. So that's a nice little lull in the massacre, but that's not a plan. So President Joe Biden is pressuring leaders on both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to reach an agreement with a new 3-phase ceasefire plan released by the White House on Friday. Over the weekend, an aide for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the country had accepted a framework agreement for winding down its ongoing military campaign in Gaza, while insisting that the proposal put forth by Biden was not a good deal and that there are a lot of details to be worked out. The plan arrives 8 months after the October 7th Hamas attacks that left an estimated, again, 1,200 dead in Israel. Since then, over 36,000 Palestinians and more than 600 Israeli soldiers, estimated 84 people still being held in Gaza, doubtful, according to multiple news outlets. Biden's plan calls for a ceasefire, that the release of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, as well as the reconstruction of Gaza, which has seen 75% of its population displaced because of the war. Yeah. Here's what you need to know about Biden's three-phase plan. Okay, and how Israeli and Palestinian leaders are responding to it. Okay, so notice how they don't say it right. This is so misleading. Okay, so phase one, a 6-week ceasefire. The first phase calls for an immediate, full, and complete ceasefire, but then lasting for 6 weeks. It will also demand the withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza, also completely ridiculous because there really are no more populated areas of Gaza. So that's sort of just a silly thing. So that doesn't even make sense. As well as the release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, and several U.S. citizens in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. Okay, now, again, not specific enough. Not specific enough. From what I understand, there are at least 3,000 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israel, and they're not prisoners; they're hostages. They're hostages. Prisoners are people that have been convicted of crimes. Hostages are people that have been taken without due process. So basically, what we're saying is we're going to get a 6-week ceasefire. There's going to be a release of Palestinian prisoners, no amount specified, and that will be in exchange for whatever is left of the hostages that were taken by Hamas, which at this point, honestly, I wouldn't hold out that much hope because they've been being bombed indiscriminately. So if you really care about your hostages, you're probably not going to be bombing everywhere if you don't know where they are. It's just maybe the hostages weren't really what their concern was all along. Just food for thought. Okay, phase two, the release of all hostages and full Israeli withdrawal. So now maybe we'll get an idea of how many hostages we're talking about. The second phase calls for the Israeli military to fully withdraw from Gaza. See, now it didn't say that in the above part. So now I'm wondering, because in the above part, it said in populated areas. It said in however they phrased it, which could basically be nowhere in Gaza. But anyway, fully withdraw in exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. I have issue with that as well. If Hamas abides by everything outlined in the plan, Biden explained, Israel said it may agree to the cessation of hostilities permanently. No, it won't. No, it won't, Joe. That's not going to happen. Meaning that all warfare and violence will be stopped indefinitely. If they would do that, then they would just do that in exchange for the hostages. So what you're saying is you make a deal with us, you give us everything we want, and then we'll decide if we want to give you everything you want. Excuse me. The reconstruction of Gaza, phase 3. The final phase of the plan is for Gaza to undergo a major reconstruction to rebuild its cities, including homes, schools, and hospitals that were destroyed by warfare. Arab nations and the international community would also participate in a manner that does not allow Hamas to rearm. Notice it does not say for whom they are rebuilding the homes, the schools, and the hospitals. Yeah, we know you're going to level the place. You're going to build nice beachfront property. You put in a pier, which already collapsed, and you're already not even taking care enough of that infrastructure. So we know that they're going to rebuild Gaza. So everybody take note that phase 3 of this plan is just a no-brainer. Obviously, they're going to rebuild Gaza. That's valuable real estate. That's neither here nor there. I don't hear anybody really worried about that quite yet. I think we need to discuss who it will be rebuilt for. Okay, I think that's the key thing. And of course, Netanyahu wants all or nothing. There's no way that he's going to agree to anything that allows any Palestinians to live in Gaza. That's the problem. So I don't know what the Biden administration think. Notice how not any one of these phases includes a right of return or the right for people that have been displaced that are like down in the southern part of Gaza to go home. None of this plan addresses the people that live there. It's amazing. So we'll stop all these things address are what benefits the Israelis. We'll stop killing you for 6 weeks. You'll give us all our people back. And then once you guys are all dead from starvation and we've gotten enough of you out of here, then we'll reconstruct. This entire plan is a sham. So that is what I think of Joe Biden's 3-part plan. Let's see. Hamas views Biden's plan positively, and that its willingness to move forward with it solely based on a permanent ceasefire and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. And those are the key points that I was saying before. Like, they say they'll withdraw from populated areas. Well, right now there are no populated areas because they've killed all of the infrastructure. So you just have tent cities. They're talking about actual urban areas. We won't go near, well, you've destroyed them. So, and then the other problem is there is no permanent ceasefire. So I agree. So that's Hamas's views. So in other words, Hamas is being, I don't know, reasonable. Who else supports Biden's plan? Oh, here we go. The United States, Egypt, Qatar released a joint statement on Saturday supporting the plan. Well, if that isn't like the trifecta of like peace and Middle Eastern security, the United States, Egypt, and Qatar. All right. Saying that it would bring immediate relief both to the long-suffering people of Gaza as well as the long-suffering hostages and their families. Does anybody see in any of those three phases where it provides immediate relief to the long-suffering people of Gaza? Because I didn't see anything in the three phases that even addressed the people of Gaza. I didn't see a single thing in there. I don't see, and nothing in there, a plan for them getting relocated, getting infrastructure rebuilt for them, whatever it is. I don't see a plan. So, it's very nice of them to have a plan for the land. That's great. That's great. So yeah, this is garbage. Okay, so there's that agenda. What else? Let's move on and see what else we might have. We could wrap it soon. Are there any questions? Do I have any questions? And there's this many people that are like, nobody wants to even say anything. All right, that's kind of sad. That's sad. And I see you on there, Wafeh. I see you. Who else do I see? Now I see there's other people on here that I know.
There's 140 people.
But why won't anybody talk to me? Why won't anybody talk to me? That's so sad. I remember doing a Reddit AMA a couple of times when I was running in 20, and those guys were fierce with the questions. The Reddit people are fierce. But don't you dare compare them to the Discord people. That's like worse than thinking that an Irishman is a Scotsman or vice versa. Like, it's way worse. I don't recognize anybody else other than, yeah. But so those are my stories for the week. And if nobody has any questions, I'm going to wrap. I did 3 stories, which is pretty good for a non-news source. Probably more news than a lot of people would get in a day, ironically. At some point, I should come on this, now that I'm not doing it on Jen Change, and do my Jen's recommended media sources. Jen has a list of recommended media sources. Because oftentimes people will ask me where I get my news and what I go through in a day. I generally spend about 3 hours a day doing what I would consider a fairly basic news sweep. And that, of course, was in my pre-campaign life. But now it's more like news is told to me as I just sort of go through the days. But the normal me has a very good, consistent source of news information. And I know I've talked about that. So anyway, guys, thanks for coming on. I'm going to try to do these every week. And maybe someone will ask questions sometime.
Someone said thank you.
You're very welcome. It's working. All right. Somebody said thank you. Mm-hmm. Explaining the plan. Yes. I wish it was a better plan. I wish it was actually a plan. I was just simply explaining what they're calling a plan. It wouldn't plan. My plan would actually have a plan. But it's just interesting that not one part of their plan. Did you catch that? That not one of the part of the plan addressed the actual people that are there? It's the most ridiculous. Nothing about aid, nothing about the people. All right. So thank you, guys. Oh, I actually didn't think of it so critically as you did. I just thought it was the same as what Hamas had proposed a few weeks back, but you were right. You know what? This is the problem with coming at this from my perspective, is that I do not believe a single word that comes out of Israel's mouth. Not one. Not one, not even a little. Like, if its lips are moving, they're lying. So what I know from everything that I just know from everything that I've researched over the past 20 years of my life is that they lie like a rug. That's what my mom would say. They lie like a rug. And so the problem is this. I know that in the past, going all the way back to like Carter at the Camp David Accords and his working between Egypt and Israel and all the different things that have gone on over years regarding diplomatic relations between us and Israel and other places, they're liars. And it's always their hesitance, their reluctance, and their absolute refusal to recognize Palestinians as a people, period. They will not recognize them as a people. And so if they will not recognize them as a people, they're never going to agree to give them their own state. So again, I feel like we keep going around and around this, but at the end of the day, this is not going to end voluntarily by Israel. It just isn't. They are not going, because they're going to keep saying, oh, Hamas won't release the hostages. Nor should they at this point. You're offering them a 6-week ceasefire. What in the world does that do for them? And also a very nondescript, very ambiguous term of how many of their hostages, stop calling them their prisoners, they're not prisoners. How many Palestinian hostages is Israel going to release? That's what I want to know. And I want to know what's phase 4, because phase 4, it better be something involving the Palestinian people, which should be phase 1, but they're more concerned with the land. But yeah, be very, very people be very questioning of anything they talk about involving reconstruction. Reconstruction of Gaza is completely meaningless at this point. Meaningless. So yeah, that's not a selling point, guys. So I appreciate you all. And yeah, next time we'll have maybe we'll have some more participation. But thanks you guys for being here. Make sure that you're following us on whatever your little platform is that you're on. Check out our website at gen2024.org. We need all the help we can get. If you can donate, we'd appreciate it. If you can volunteer from anywhere. We need all different kinds of help. If you're local, please make sure you sign up to come out and do a canvas with us. We just started canvassing yesterday, and it went very well. I thought I had a really good, it's so hot, but I got to tell you, even for here, it wasn't too bad. And of course, we're still only in the first day of June, but it was good. Out of everybody we spoke to that we made contact with on my little campaign, on my little canvas, there was only one nasty Debbie supporter. So it was like, I would say a 20-to-1 ratio. I probably talked to 20 Dems that were very open and not Debbie supporters to one nasty Debbie supporter. And this is something that I think is interesting. And I was just telling somebody is about how nasty her supporters are, so unnecessarily so. Not that it should surprise you, because nasty people probably affiliate with nasty people. I don't know, but I've knocked on so many doors and I'll say, hi, I'm Jen. I'm challenging Debbie Wasserman Schultz, whatever I say. Never once has anyone ever said, oh, hi, I'm a friend of Debbie, so I'm sorry, I'm loyal to her, so I won't be able to support you, but thanks for stopping by, or good luck, or whatever, or just no thank you. Never once. Every single time I've come across a Debbie supporter, it is the most vitriolic response. They are nasty, they are vile, and they are so beyond condescending and rude. And it's very much like, I hope you lose. Like, how dare you run against her? I have never once come across a Debbie supporter that wasn't nasty. And so this first canvas was no exception, but there was only one of them. So I took that as pretty promising. And so I think it went really well. We had about 20 people that came out for our first canvas, right? 30? Yeah. 30 people that came out for our first canvas. And we're going to start doing them 3 times a week. So guys, if you are local and you can help out, please go and check out the website, gen2024.org. Sign up to volunteer. And so you can get in with us. And we're going to have regular canvases. And just because if you commit to canvas for a day doesn't mean you're committing to canvassing every day. We take people when we can get them. So help when you can. Sign up for a shift here or there is still very helpful. So I appreciate you guys. And that's it for now. Bye, all. I don't know what to do now.
Click on End Live.
I did that.
Okay.
But now it says live video ended, but then it says discard, but we want to download it, but I have to view it in the archive or Instagram. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
See, now it's that. Right, but I don't.
So
There's so many people. Why doesn't anybody say anything?
there was 100.